Top 5 things Baylor needs to make a deep tournament run. Baylor men. Number 5,
Bodies.
and this is obvious, a good draw. That's more than anything. Almost anybody who ever wins the tournament. I mean, occasionally you get your teams, and Baylor might have been one of those teams last year because they were so good that it almost didn't really matter who was in front of them. They were going to win. Kentucky, when they had Anthony Davis, there were very few teams constructed in NCAA history that would have beaten that team. But a lot of times, especially when the field is so wide open this year, it's going to be about your matchups all the way through and who that is. So this is the first thing you have to have. If you get, you could be a better team than a lot of teams, on paper, but maybe the one thing that they do well is the one thing they do poorly, and I will point you no further back than to Baylor losing to Yale. And the NCAA,
not saying they're dirty about this, they're naughty when it comes to matching up matchups. They know what they're doing with that. There's no question in my mind.
Which one was worse? Yale or Florida Gulf Coast?
Florida Gulf Coast.
Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern.
Gosh, I don't know why Georgia State or whatever. Georgia State.
Georgia State. Okay, Georgia State or Yale.
Because that was the first one that led to the second one.
I don't know why I said Florida Gulf Coast.
Yale was pretty bad. Georgia State, Yale, I guess, being in attendance at both of them, Yale was one where you felt the whole time like eventually Baylor's going to go on like a 15-0 run here and then just going to end this because they had so many better athletes, and they just never did.
No.
And with Georgia State, even though things were going well, the one thing that was not going well for Georgia State was R.J. Hunter was well below his season average, and you just figured that there was going to be
around,
and they were hanging around enough, and you just figured there's going to be a moment where he was going to get hot, and it happened with the exact amount of time that they needed for him to have. So
yeah, you're right though. I mean, the draw is the difference potentially between like going out in the round of 32 and being in the Elite Eight. I mean, just as simply who you have in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the first time they went to the Elite Eight, they got a perfect draw for who they were.
They don't want a long, freaky athletic team.
Yeah.
Like they face a team with long bodies that are athletic. That could be some trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, which feeds into that, better results on the offensive glass. So better offensive rebounding. They have not done that all that well. And, recently, and they're still not bad at it. I mean, you say that, and this is a team that's still pretty good at it. But when they do fall behind, it's because they do not get those offensive rebounds that they used to get.
I was stunned last night after the first few minutes, and even early on in the second half when you could see Oklahoma State starting to take control, how I was stunned at the offensive rebound. Now, the box score was wrong. They had given Baylor a couple extra, but it was pretty much even. Did it seem like it was ever at all, ever even?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Number 3, consistency from Flo Thamba. He's their last big man. They need consistency from him, and part of that means you don't get to dribble anymore, Flo. That's it. And look, Flo, and he needs to play intense. But that's what he has to do. They need consistency from him. He is a gamer. There's no doubt about it. You're going to get everything you ask out of him when it comes to playing the minutes and playing hard. But he's got to play smarter.
He is who he is. He's not going to change who he is now, who he was 2 or 3 years ago. He does seem to have an issue for a guy that's so large, tall, and he's not frail, of being able to go up when he's underneath the basket and going up with force. It seems like he almost lets go of the ball, like his hands are not very strong, and he might be able to choke me out quickly. But doesn't that seem like that's an issue around? He's 6'8", 9'10", and he doesn't go up with enough where he's going to get fouled, if anything, even if the shot is blocked.
Yeah. Number 2, points from James Akinjo. This changes the entire scope of things. He's been playing through several different, to call them nagging injuries would maybe underselling it, but he's been playing through several different bumps, bites, bruises, whatever you want to call it. But if he can get back going offensively again, if you look to the last couple weeks when they've struggled offensively, James Akinjo not scoring points early and often is kind of what puts them behind the 8 ball because of the kind of point guard he is. So if he can get back to scoring points, I'm not saying drop in 30 a night, but if they can get 15 points a night from James Akinjo, this team is going to be hard to beat because you're going to get it from Adam Flagler, and if LJ Cryer comes back, you're going to get it from him too.
I don't even know if that's going to happen, so that's even more reason. Yeah.
And
with LJ and what's going on with him.
Which brings me to number 1, all caps, health. They just need health. I mean, And that's a lot to ask. But those guards, particularly, and those are the three who've been injured. Jeremy Sohan seems to have been fine since he came back from his ankle injury. He's playing well. He's
so good.
He's really smooth and really good, especially for a freshman. But if Flagler, Cryer, and Akinjo can be all healthy at the same time for 40 straight minutes, a couple nights in a row, that will help them tremendously. And it changes this team almost, even though without Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua, back to who they were before the injuries happened.
Yeah,
but it's a big ask.
Yeah, that's the big thing, and the big problem is that there's not.
Yeah, you can't lay hands on
here. Yeah,
you can't lay hands on people and say demons out, and then
wish you could. That'd be great.
In fact, Flagler, remember, tripped over a teammate's ankle yesterday, and it looked like he had twisted his ankle, and he went down, and he's nursing that knee issue. So they just kind of seem to be possessed in some ways. Last night, though, they played possessed, didn't they? They really did.
Yeah, that was a really good win. It wasn't it's not like you beat Kansas or anything, all due respect to Oklahoma State, but it was one that got really dicey and one that was tough just because of the circumstances heading into it. So for them to, eke that out, not lose that game and to find a way to get it done ultimately, that was a big deal. And you could tell by the reaction to it that was a big deal for them. And actually, in hindsight, I wish could have asked John Jacobs just what the locker room was like after that game. Well, so I'd imagine they had to be pretty proud with themselves, and rightfully so. So yeah,
I may ask,
now big test coming up this weekend. We'll see what happens.
I'll text TL from ESPN Plus and see if she can give me an idea. But I bet it was very similar to what we saw, that still photo with the players hugging the neck of all around Akinjo. Paul Catalina.